Hey guys, have I got a show for you? This is a super in-depth dive into the Valentine's Day celebration, if you want to call it that, and the dark spirits that are behind this demonic holiday. This holiday is disguised as love, but is corrupt and holds nothing but death for the beholder. This holiday is nothing like we were taught it was. It is highly spiritual, highly demonic, and I've uncovered so many things that it blew my mind putting it all together. Not only that, but as I prepare these videos, I do like my Bible studies, and I'll open many tabs and read many web pages and highlight the portions that I want to share with you. Well, halfway through the progress, my computer decided it was going to restart itself while I was taking a break, and I lost all the stuff that I had prepped. So I had to redo more than half of the video's prep again. But I was bound and determined to get this video out today, the day before Valentine's Day, because that was the goal that I had set. And so here it is. Please watch this video to the end. It will blow your mind. Share it with anyone you think will watch it. And may the Lord open the eyes and open the ears of all viewers of this video and bless them with the wisdom and the knowledge that I'm setting forth for you in this video called My Bloody Valentine. As we get closer to the end, the truth will become more and more precious, and the people that hold it will have a great responsibility, because the world will reject what they have to say, persecute, hunt them down, and kill them. These truths are hard, and it takes a certain kind of person led by God to bring these truths to the surface. So choose you this day whom ye will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Welcome. Let's start off with Valentine's Day. Let's just focus on the name of this holiday for starters. Valentine's Day has a numerical value of 151. 11 times 5 is 55, which is the numerical value of Satan. And if that wasn't enough, Valentine's Day is on 214. 2 plus 14 is 16, or 2 times 14 is 28, both of which are 88. A portal. What is it a portal to? Well, 1 and 4 is 5, and 2 is 1 and 1. 1, 1, 5, 55, Satan. So both the numerical value of Valentine's Day and the combination of the date is a portal to Satan. Okay? I could end the video right here, and every Christian should know that you have no business celebrating this holiday, buying your significant other flowers. Take no part in this holiday. Do nothing on this holiday. Okay? You should love your significant other every day. Valentine's Day is a satanic holiday for the world. As you can see, it's satanic. Valentine's Day, also called St. Valentine's Day or the Feast of St. Valentine, is celebrated annually on February 14th. It originated as a Christian feast day honoring a martyr named Valentine. And through later folk traditions, it has also become a significant cultural, religious, and commercial celebration of romance and love in many regions of the world. So much like with every other satanic holiday, they love to throw this word Christian into it, saying it originated as a Christian feast day. No, it did not. It's a Catholic holiday because Catholics celebrate the dead, not Christians. Catholics are not Christians. So don't ever be fooled because they throw this word Christian in there. That's because they want the lukewarm to believe that it's okay, or that we started it, or that it's God ordained, because really all it takes is a modern day Christian to see this and they'll be like, it's okay. I saw it on Wikipedia. It's a Christian holiday. Christians celebrate. We started that holiday. That's all it will take. And they're in it for the long haul. Okay? We don't honor the dead. Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. This is idolatry, and we take no part in it. There are a number of martyrdom stories associated with various Saint Valentines connected to February 14th, including an account of the imprisonment of Saint Valentine of Rome for ministering to Christians persecuted under the Roman Empire in the 3rd century. So let me just go ahead and tell you, in case you're not going to be able to figure this out, that what I'm about to read to you is all lies. These are called lies. And it's all to lead people astray. It's all for Christians to go, oh my goodness, what a great person. We should celebrate Valentine's Day. It's in honor of a Christian who was persecuted by the Roman Empire for trying to spread Christianity. No, don't be so weak in your thinking that you believe this garbage, because none of it's true. According to an early tradition, St. Valentine restored sight to the blind daughter of his jailer. Well then, case settled. Let's exalt this St. Valentine, whoever he is. Numerous later additions to the legend, notice it says later additions to the legend, have better related to the theme of love. Tradition maintains that St. Valentine performed weddings for Christian soldiers who were forbidden to marry by the Roman emperor. Were they male and male soldiers? Just something to throw out there. Doesn't say they were a heterosexual couple, right? There's no details. An 18th century embellishment to the legend claims he wrote the jailer's daughter a letter signed Your Valentine as a farewell for his execution. Well, that was the first Valentine's Day card. So let's skip ahead and let's see what we can find out about these Saint Valentines, which I've also opened up a page for Saint Valentine, which we will cover in a minute. But first I want to show you this. The history. Numerous early Christian martyrs were named Valentine. Numerous. The Valentines honored on February 14th are Valentine of Rome and Valentine of Terni. Valentine of Rome was a priest in Rome who was martyred in 269 and was buried on the Via Flaminia. Okay, this sounds like the fire, Flaminia, which would make sense since this is Satan's holiday and Catholicism is Satan's religion. The relics of Saint Valentine were kept in the church and catacombs of San Valentino in Rome, which remained an important pilgrim site throughout the Middle Ages until the relics of Saint Valentine were transferred to the Church of Santa Prassede during the pontification of Nicholas IV. The Nicolaitans. The flower-crowned skull of Saint Valentine is exhibited in the Basilica of Santa Maria in Cosmedin, Rome. So they have this saint's, quote-unquote, their words, not mine, skull on display with a flower crown. This is called idolatry. Going and giving praise and veneration to a dead man's skull. And whose skull is it anyway? Nobody knows. They could put any skull in there and tell you any story about it. Valentine of Terni became Bishop of Interamna, now Terni, in central Italy, and is said to have been martyred during the persecution under Emperor Aurelian in 273. He is buried on the Via Flaminia, but in a different location from Valentine of Rome. So they're both buried in the place of the flame. His relics are at the Basilica of St. Valentine of Terni. Professor Jack B. Orrick of the University of Kansas notes abstracts of the Acts of the Two Saints were in nearly every church and monastery in Europe. A relic claimed to be St. Valentine of Terni's head was preserved in the Abbey of New Minster, Winchester, and venerated. So here they have this other St. Valentine's skull in another place, and they venerate it. The Catholic Encyclopedia speaks of a third St. Valentine who was mentioned in early martyrologies under date of February 14th. He was martyred in Africa with a number of companions, but nothing more is known about him. So how do you know he's a saint? Because he was killed in Africa? You don't know anything about him? How do you know he was killed on February 14th? How do you know he was a saint? How do you even know his name was Valentine? You don't seem to know anything about him. Okay, but my point to show you guys is this is called confusion. They don't even know what Saint Valentine they're celebrating. And they celebrate them all on different days. If you look here, you can see that the different churches celebrate Valentine's Day on different days. This is confusion. And this, again, alone should tell Christians to stay away from it because God is not the author of confusion. The world is, so that you can never figure out what you're doing or what your history is or what to believe. Saint Valentine. Saint Valentine has a numerical value of 165. That's 66. That's Apollo's number for those of you who are new to the channel. Okay. 66, 99, Apollo, Artemis. 66 is 611, 99 is 911. Okay, these are the numbers associated with Apollo and his twin sister Artemis, who we'll also be covering today. Let's dig into St. Valentine a little bit here. St. Valentine was a 3rd century Roman saint commemorated in Western Christianity on February 14th and in Eastern Orthodoxy on July 6th. From the High Middle Ages, his feast day has been associated with a tradition of courtly love. He's also the patron saint of Terni, epilepsy, and beekeepers. How interesting. Notice here, they have mixed the two saints into one. Okay, they say he was a 3rd century Roman saint, the patron saint of Terni. Now remember, we just saw that the Roman saint, Saint Valentine of Rome, is different than Valentine of Terni. But here, they mix him together. They can't get their stories straight, so they just merge them. And how very interesting that he is a patron saint of not only epilepsy, which is a neurological disorder having to do with your mind, but also of beekeepers. You know, the hive with their hive master, Saint Valentine, Apollo, the king of the bottomless pit. Let's continue. Saint Valentine was a clergyman, either a priest or a bishop in the Roman Empire, who ministered to persecuted Christians. How very interesting. So he's so important that you have to make him a saint, but you don't know if he's a priest or a bishop. You see what's going on here? They don't know anything about anything. So a lot of this stuff we've already read, but I wanted to come down here and take a look at these numbers here. His birth date, his birth year, his death year, his age, and how he's venerated in all these Catholic churches. He was born 226. 2 times 2 times 6 is 24, which is 888. He died in 269. 2 times 6 times 9 is 108, or 18, which is 666. Now, I've told you in many videos that whenever they show you numbers like this, you want to add them together. And 42 plus 43 is 85, or backwards is 58. The number of the Antichrist, the fifth head, and the eighth head. This is the numbers surrounding his birth and death and age. 888, 666, 58. Can't make this stuff up. No wonder the Catholics hold him in such high regard. Let's scroll down a little further. Saint Valentine does not occur in the earliest list of Roman martyrs in the chronography of 354. How interesting, because he died in 269. So don't you think if he was a saint that was to be listed with the Roman martyrs, that he would have been in the chronography of 354? Oh, but he wasn't. Although the patron of chronography's compilation was a wealthy Roman Christian named Valentinus. Oh, wow, that makes up for it. There is a reference to his feast day on 14th of February in one of the 9th century copies of Martyrologium Hieronomium. I can't. If I butchered that, you're just going to have to forgive me, because that word is bananas. Which may have compiled originally between 460 and 544 from earlier local sources, but the entry may be much later. The widespread modern legend that the feast of St. Valentine on February 14th was first established in 469 by Pope Gelasius I, who included Valentine among all those whose names are justly reverenced among men, but whose acts are known only to God, is in fact based upon a statement in the Galatian decree which mentions St. George but not St. Valentine, and is not in fact by Galatius. So they don't know anything. They tell you all this stuff and then they're like, yeah, but that's probably not right. But anyways, here they are saying that the widespread modern legend, the feast of St. Valentine's on February 14th, was first established in 496. 4 times 9 times 6 is 216, which also happens to be 6 times 6 times 6. So just to recap the numbers on St. Valentine, we have St. Valentine, which is 165, which is 66. 1 and 5 is 6. Born on 226, or in 226. 2 times 2 times 6 is 24, which is 888. Died 269, which 2 times 6 times 9 is 108. Cancel the 0, of course. That's 18, which is 6 plus 6 plus 6. Age at death was 42 to 43, which is 85, which is 58. Number of Antichrist. And the first Valentine's Day, according to this document in the narrative, was in 496. 4 times 9 times 6 is 216, which is 6 times 6 times 6.
I mean, quite literally, I could stop right now and have given you more than enough information to never buy another flower ever. But I'm just getting started. So let's continue. So, just to sum up the confusion that they are under, though the extant accounts of the martyrdoms of the first two listed saints are of a late date and contain legendary elements, a common nucleus of fact may underlie the two accounts and they may refer to a single person. Oh, so like a duality, right? A duality, which is very interesting. So the two are actually one, like twins, twin spirits, you know, like Romulus and Remus, who we'll be talking about in a little while. But let's not get too distracted as of yet. According to the official biography of the Diocese of Terni, Bishop Valentine was born and lived in Interamna, and while on a temporary stay in Rome, he was imprisoned, tortured, and martyred there on February 14th, 269. His body was hastily buried at a nearby cemetery, and a few nights later, his disciples retrieved his body and returned him home. I have a question. As I'm reading this, it just came to my mind. If the two were one, how could they have two skulls of two different St. Valentines in two different churches on display to be venerated and worshipped? So before we move on, I just want to take a look at the attributes of St. Valentine. Birds, roses, bishop with a crippled person or child with epilepsy at his feet, a bishop with a rooster nearby. Interesting. A bishop with a rooster nearby. Well, Hermes' attributes is a rooster. And as we will see later, I am going to connect Hermes to Valentine's Day. But here he is connected directly to Saint Valentine. A bishop refusing to adore an idol. Bishop being beheaded, priest bearing a sword, priest holding a sun, S-U-N. Oh, like Apollo, who is also attributed with Hermes. How interesting. Priest giving sight to a blind girl. So these are the attributes of Saint Valentine. So as I was looking into this demonic holiday and studying the numbers and the narrative behind the holiday itself, I started to contemplate all the things I've heard over my life and the things that I personally experienced in the past. Like, even as a child, now I know that in the days of participation trophies, things are different. But back when I was a kid, you only had to give Valentines to kids that you liked. If you only wanted to give out 2 Valentines, then that's how many you gave out. You didn't have to give one to every kid in the class so nobody feels left out. They didn't care about that stuff back in the day. So, kids who, let's just say, were like me, wouldn't get many Valentines. And it made you feel less than everyone else. And this is what they're pushing on children. Okay, now this does not change throughout life. This is instilled on people that Valentine's Day is supposed to be about love and couples. And if you don't have someone to share the day with, well, then that's depressing. Okay, so Valentine's Day isn't about love, it's about depression. It's a weapon of the enemy disguised as love, much like is being used in the churches right now. Love is love. Love is love. Let everyone in the church. Gotta love everybody. Love, 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 love. God is a God of love. Love, 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 love. And it's being weaponized against the church. Well, this is no different, okay? This is no different. And I'm going to show you an interesting thing that's happened when I started to research take a look at the screen because I don't want to announce this word often. So we are going to call it soup, right? And later on, I will cover the murders that take place on Valentine's Day. And don't worry, I'm not going to get into anything graphic. I just want to share information with you. So, when I was looking into this, it seems as though the world is trying to convince me that the holiday season is not the high point of soup rate per year, but the summertime, which is absolutely ridiculous. And much like they try to change all the definitions of our words as time goes on, and those words are convicting people, so they want to change the meaning so that people don't get convicted, so they can all join in and get in the bus and take a quick trip down to hell. This is what they're showing us. So the soup rate is low during the holidays. Low. Okay? We know that this isn't true. I don't care what the statistics say. You know this is not true. Don't read this with your carnal eyes. Listen and read with your spiritual eyes. This says the soup rate is low during the holidays, but the holiday soup rate persists. So let's go and see this chart. Okay, here we have the average daily. I can't keep saying this word, so I'll just call it soups. All right, so the average daily soup per month, all right, from 99 to 2024. So as you can see here, now, November, December, January. So the first dot, blue, November. The second dot, blue, December. The third dot, blue, January. Then the gray dots represent the rest of the year. Okay, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, back to November. You see? All right. Now look at what's happening. All the blue months are low. See? See how back here there was a couple that were topping out. But then they decided, oh, you know what? If we keep letting people know that people want to have soup during the holiday seasons, well, people are going to realize that the holidays are more damaging than good and that they're wicked and rooted in evil, and they may want to stop taking part in them. So let's tell them that the holidays are really low times for soup, and that the summertime, when everything comes to life and is warm and enjoyable, well, that's when people want soup. Not when it's cold and dark and depressing, okay, but when it's nice out. Now, I don't know about you, but when the summer comes around, I love it. Winter, not so much. Not that I like soup, but if I did like soup, it would probably be a winter soup because, you know, it's cold and everybody likes soup in the winter. So let's take a look down here at what this says. CDC multiple cause of death files 99 to 2024. Isn't that interesting? It says up here average daily soups 99 to 24. But down here it says multiple cause from 99 to 24. Isn't that interesting? Conflicting messages for the same chart. Now let's close out of here and see what this article has to say. So if you can hear my heater, I do apologize, but it is winter time and I can't keep pausing this video recording because I forget where I was and I lose my place. So please just bear with me. Hopefully it's not too loud, but let's read. As in most years that we've followed news reporting about the myth that soups peak during the end of year holidays, an analysis of the past year showed again that more newspaper accounts supported the false idea that soup rate increases during the holiday season than debunked it. So they're trying to convince us that all the news reports over the year were wrong and that they were promoting this myth, even though you know with your spiritual eyes that it's not a myth. Okay, these are times when people get sad, depressed, lonely. All right? It doesn't take even a thinking person to realize this is a lie. But let's continue. Over the past 25 years that we have been studying this phenomenon, in just over a third, okay, so let's point out these numbers while we're going through. 2 5s, 55, Satan, they've been studying this phenomenon. Just over a third, 33, 9 years, 9 is the number of the beast, or 36%, 3 sixes, have we found more debunking of the myth than support it. So the myth they're referring to is that soup is more popular during the holidays. Despite years of debunking by mental health researchers, journalists, and others, the misconception that people are more likely to die by soup over the holidays has shown remarkable persistence. Oh, maybe because people know the truth, and no matter how much you try to get them to see through your false lens, they understand that you are a liar. Last year, over the 2023 to 24 holiday season, a search media stories found 26 two sixes 66 Apollo newspaper stories linking up the holidays and soup, of which 15 555 666 58% fifth head and eighth head upheld the myth, and 11 101 42%, that's 24888, debunked it. Sorry, I'm throwing all these numbers in there while I'm reading, but you can read it without the numbers. I'm just showing you these connections. Okay, this is a lie. This is a spell. They're casting spells. For more than a generation, we've been analyzing how the news media report on mistaken belief that the soup rate increases over the holiday season, said Dan Romer, research director of Annenberg Public Policy Center of the University of Pennsylvania. PP is 32, plus 1 is 33, plus C for 3 is 36. 3 sixes. But yeah, let's just trust this. Now, for more than a generation, the news has been mistaken. So when they are reporting these soup deaths, this article is trying to say that all those reports are giving a false premise that it's higher during the holidays. This is absolute mayhem. You guys, this holiday is wicked evil, and I just want you to see they want to hide it, okay? Because if people knew how dangerous these holidays were, they'd want no part of them. So they have to hide this stuff. The persistence of this myth, they keep calling it a myth, suggests that it holds the public's imagination is difficult to undo. Supporting the myth serves no useful purpose and may have a contagious effect on vulnerable people who are experiencing a crisis contemplating soup during the holidays. Oh, I thought that it wasn't a problem. So if it's not a problem, why would it have an effect on people who are experiencing a crisis during the holidays? It's not real, you just said. But now it's real because of the myth? The myth makes it real? Are you serious? Come on. The news media are not the only ones who commonly get it wrong. In a nationally represented survey we conducted in 2023, 4 out of 5 adults incorrectly picked the month of December over several other months as the time of year in which the largest number of soup occurs. even though the other months provided as potential choices typically have much higher soup rates. This is insanity, and it doesn't end here. Here we have an article. Holiday soup is a myth, and December has the fewest soups of any month at all. Americans generally believe that the people are more likely to have soup during the annual holiday season. Researchers, however, say bah, humbug. Contrary to widespread belief, December is the month with the fewest cups of soup. And according to a new study, news outlets play a significant role in the public's misperception. Oh, it's just a misperception. Never mind all the things that we've seen happen on these holidays and all the news reports that came out during the year it was happening as these things were taking place. Forget about all that. Now that we're in 2024, 2025, we're changing the definition of words. We're changing the roles people play. We're changing people's genders. This is the time of change. So we're going to change history. And we're going to change facts into lies. It's all about change. You got to keep up with the times, you guys. So this article, which was from 2011, Valentine's Day increases feelings of loss. So this was before the narrative change. Soup survivors and others dealing with extreme levels of grief acknowledge Valentine's Day as a particularly difficult time. Wait a minute. Hold on now. I thought that wasn't the case. Isn't this just a myth? Oh, but look what they say. Grief, not soup, goes up. While Valentine's Day is an emotional time of year, whether in love or pain, statistics show that despite popular belief, soup rates do not spike during the celebration of holidays. So the celebration of pagan satanic holidays does not make the ritual of soup rates spike. Okay, this says the rates peak in the spring and the fall. Where do they get these statistics? Oh, right here. No wonder. You know, the ones that push the safe and effective. So here we have facts, data, injury type, soup, years, whatever, doesn't matter. But watch this. Look at when all the years peak. Here's May, okay? Whoops. Here's the May line. Here's the August line. They're all higher in May, June, July, and August. You know, when it's warm and people have fun and they love life, not in the cold and depressing holiday-filled winter seasons. No, no, no. All that stuff you knew before, that was fake. That was just fake propaganda. This now, what we're telling you, this is real. This is how it really is. So, you know, when the season that everyone looks forward to, depressed or not, yeah, those are the highest soup rate times. Cut it out. This is from 2013, published on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is not just the mushy romantic holiday so often depicted on TV and commercials. What if for some a chance to celebrate true love is for others a difficult time that can bring on feelings of loneliness and depression? For proof, look no further than the number of phone calls soup hotlines receive on February 14th, as well as the number of people who have been diagnosed with broken heart syndrome. Many people without Valentines might find it harder to go into work, turned off by the roses being delivered to the person they sit next to. For most single people, it could be a minor inconvenience, but for others who suffer from depression or other mental illnesses, the feelings of isolation could be much worse. Let me read this sentence again. For proof, look no further than the number of phone calls to the soup prevention hotlines on February 14th, for the inexistent problem. Okay, this is why you have to not read the news with feelings. You have to see what's behind the news. You have to look at it with spiritual eyes and not let your feelings get in the way and blind you. With loneliness and mental illness issues on Lover's Day. For some, Valentine's Day symbolizes the climax of the celebration of their affection for their beloved and their being loved back. For others, it signposts their unsuccessful attempts at love and reminds them of their loneliness, triggering sadness, depression, even soup. That's not happening. Though evidence on the direct link between Valentine's Day and soup rates is more anecdotal than scientific, because they get their facts from the CDC, the Day of Love definitely bears a darker shadow than the love it appears to portray. So even though they're telling you there's no link, they are telling you that it's worse than it is good. It's darker than the love appears to portray, right? In a survey conducted by BetterHelp, some 15 million American adults say the day impacts their mental health for the worse, with more of this number being young adults. The same study reveals that even those with lovers experience mental stress surrounding their love lives. So not just single people with nobody, but even the people who have spouses. Now, I'm just reading you some articles, but we're going to be digging into the gods, the goddesses, all kinds of stuff. So stick with me. I'm just laying groundwork for you guys because we need to cover this stuff. This video is about not only how this holiday is demonic and wicked, but also why and what it does to people. Okay, because that's what's important, is how it affects people and why people continue to take part in these demonic holidays that lead to darkness. The emphasis on romantic love in couples may contribute to the higher risk of soup on Valentine's Day. For some, the occasion is a reminder of their loneliness or broken relationships. The pressure to be in a relationship or to have a romantic partner can exacerbate feelings of loneliness and inadequacy, especially for individuals suffering from depression or anxiety. Furthermore, social media and targeted ads can instill exaggerated expectations of love and romance, exacerbating feelings of grief or disappointment. You don't say. Despite these concerns, the association between Valentine's Day and soup rates remains ambiguous. Some studies have discovered a link between the two, the honest ones, while others have discovered no substantial difference in soup rate on Valentine's Day versus other days of the year, especially holidays. So the honest ones say there is a link, and the every other one says nothing to see here. So it wouldn't be a Valentine's video unless we started digging into the month of February, right? After all, this is the Valentine's month, which celebrates Satan, Apollo, the king of the bottomless pit. So, what is the numerical value for February? Well, the numerical value for February is 96, which I call Artemis and Apollo, the yin and yang, the 6, the 9. But we all know that the 6 and 9 are interchangeable, so it could be 99, 66. But I like to consider the 96 or the 6 and 9, I like to consider that Artemis and Apollo, the twin spirits, the yin and the yang. So February is the second month of the year in the Julian calendar and Gregorian calendars. The month has 28 days in common years and 29 in leap years. So 28 days in common years, 2 8s, 88. That's the portal number. And in leap years, 29, which is 2 9s, 99 or 911. 9/11 takes place every 4 years. Well, remember Hermes is attributed with the number 4. Every 4 years, there's 29 days. 2 is 1 and 1 plus 9, 9/11. Okay? We're going to see connections made between all these ancient gods. Now, Hermes, he is widely considered the protector of human heralds, travelers, thieves, merchants, and orators. He's able to move quickly and freely between the world of the mortal and the divine. Now, those of you who have been following my channel for a while will know that Hermes is, let's say, what's considered the medicine, right? The iron that's mixed with the clay. Okay, he is the divine trickster, also known as Loki. All right, and he is able to go between the world of the mortals and the divine. Hermes, his main symbol is the caduceus, medicine. In Roman mythology and religion, many of Hermes' characteristics belong to Mercury, a name from the Latin merx, meaning merchandise, and the origin of the words merchant and commerce. Okay, so let's just take this into consideration. He is the god of merchants, the caduceus, medicine, the number 4, which is the Roman numeral for IV. He is a trickster god, and he can go between the world of the mortal and the divine. Revelation 18:23 says, "And the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, and by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." Well, if we open up sorceries, we will see that sorcery is pharmakia, magic, sorcery, enchantments, meaning a drug or a spell giving potion. All right, so the merchants who gave out the pharmakia deceived all the nations. The trickster god deceived all the nations through the pharmakia that was given out by the merchants. You see, the medicine, which was given through the IV by the merchants, tricked people, deceived them. And so now they have mixed iron with clay, and this God who can go between the world of the mortal and divine is now part of them. Now, let's go down here. He's also known as a messenger God. Okay, we just discussed what he was doing and what was put into people, in association with his role as a psychopomp and god who is able to easily cross boundaries. Hermes is predominantly worshipped as a messenger, like messenger RNA. Seeing what I'm putting together here for you? I've talked about this before, but you can never hear this stuff enough, especially the new people to the channel. Often described as the messenger of the gods, since he can convey messages between divine realm, the underworld, and the world of the mortals. So he plays the messenger in the RNA and connects you to the underworld. All right? That way, when CERN opens the pit, you can be entered into by these wicked, foul spirits. Now, Hermes is also known as a shepherd, and many people like to use this and associate this iconography with Jesus. But this is Hermes. Hermes was known as the patron god of flocks, herds, shepherds, an attribute possibly tied to his early origin as an aspect of Pan. In Boeotia, Hermes was worshipped for having saved a town from the plague by carrying a ram or a calf around the city walls. A yearly festival festival commemorated this event during which a lamb would be carried around the city by the most handsome boy and then sacrificed in order to purify and protect the city from disease, drought, and famine. Numerous depictions of Hermes as a shepherd god carrying a lamb on his shoulders have been found throughout the Mediterranean world, and it is possible that the iconography of Hermes as the Good Shepherd had an influence on early Christianity, specifically in the description of Christ as the Good Shepherd in the Gospel of John. How demonic and satanic can you get? Now, we're going to come back to Hermes a little later, but as for right now, I think that we have covered what I need to show you in order to continue with February. So, February, okay, Hermes and Apollo have association, so 9/11 every 4 years. So I showed you that. So let's continue. The Roman month Februarius was named after the Latin term februm, which means purification. Via the purification ritual, februa, held on February 15th, the full moon in the old lunar Roman calendar. January and February were the last 2 months to be added to the Roman calendar, since the Romans originally considered winter a monthless period of the year. They were added by Numa Pompilius in about 713 BC. So this purification ritual is held on February 15th, the full moon. Okay? Well, Artemis is the goddess of the moon, which is Apollo's twin sister. Okay, we're going to make all these connections. Don't worry, I'm just laying it out for you. Patterns in February. Having only 28 days in common years, February is the only month of the year that can pass without a single full moon. Using coordinated universal time as the basis for determining the date and time of a full moon, this last happened in 2018 and will next happen in 2037. The same is true regarding a new moon. Again, using coordinated universal time as the basis, this happened in 2014 and will happen again in 2033. February is also the only month of the calendar that, at intervals alternating between 1 of 6 years and 2 of 11 years, has exactly 4 7-day weeks. Okay? Here's our 4 again. Has exactly 4. Now, these numbers mean something. So February is 96. Artemis and Apollo. Okay? 28 days, 2 8s, 88. Or 29 days, 9, and 2 is 1 and 1, 11. Every 4th year. Here's the Hermes connection. Now, I will be connecting Hermes to Apollo, but I found an interest and to Cupid. Okay? All the same. But I was thinking about this and said, oh, lovesick, right. Apollo brings the sickness and the cure, right? So when people get lovesick, their solution, the cure, is sin. Giving in to the lust. See what's happening here? So just keep these things in mind. Okay, February means purification ritual held on February 15th, which is the full moon. February 15th is 6, and February 2 is 1166. That's Apollo. Full moon, that's Artemis. Okay, 96, Apollo, Artemis. You see what's happening here? February added to the Roman calendar in 713. 7 times 13 is 91, which is 19. You know, like the sickness that Apollo brought, right? CV 19, which takes place on the Metonic cycle, which February 15th is based on the full moon for the purification ritual. The Metonic cycle is a period of almost exactly 19 years, after which the lunar phases reoccur at the same time of the year. So, in other words, whatever the phases are of the moon this year, in 19 years, they will be exactly the same. This is the Ouroboros. This is Metonic cycles spell work, moon casting spells. Now it says the reoccurrence is not perfect, and by precise observation, the Metonic cycle is defined as 235 Sidonic months, is just 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 58 seconds longer than 19 tropical years. 235, that's 55. Satan, the Ouroboros, remember, this is Satan's spellcasting here. So 55, and it's just 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 58 seconds. 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 8 is 19. Perfect spell. In the 5th century, V, right, 5, V, Lucifer, judged to be a cycle of a whole number of days, 6,940. 6 plus 4 plus 9 is 19. Okay, you see what's happening here? I hope so. Apollo is said to have visited the Hyperboreans once every 19 years. Okay, so this Metonic cycle, this moon cycle of Artemis, is when Apollo appears. This is when the spells take place. Now, this says, so February passing without having a single full moon last happened in 2018 and will happen again in 2037. Here we have 2018, which can be viewed as 2 times 18, which is 36, 666, happening again in 237, which we know is the cage of the beast, 237, or 57, or 5G. The same is true regarding a new moon using the coordinated universal time basis. This last happened in 2014. 2 times 14, 28, 88. There's your portal, which will happen again in 2033. 2 times 33 is 66. The portal to Apollo. I hope you guys are seeing all these crazy number connections that are taking place around February and the moon. February is also the only month of the calendar that, at intervals alternating between 1 of 6 years and 2 of 11 years, has exactly 4 full 7-day weeks. Now, if we take these numbers, okay, February 1 of 6 years and 2 of 11 years, to get the 4 full 7-day weeks, we get 6 times 11 times 11 is 726. 7 and 2 is 9, and 6. 96, 96. The Metonic cycle, the spell work, Artemis and Apollo, both who use arrows just like Cupid. Symbols. The zodiac sign of February are Aquarius and Pisces. So Aquarius, right? This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. This is New Age doctrine, right? Aquarius. And Pisces, the fish, the false Christ. New Age doctrine, ushering in the false Christ. Its birth flowers are the violet, okay? The purple rain, the purple, which is mixing the blue bloods with the red bloods, iron and clay, the common primrose, and the iris. So the iris is obviously the way to the eye gate. And how do you get to the eye gate? Well, you use the primrose. Let me show you about the primrose. So here we go. From love to renewal, many of the meanings of the primrose flower. Now I have highlighted a few things that I want to show you and nothing else I really care to show you. Primrose plays a role in several myths. In Norse legend, they were sacred to Freya, the goddess of love and beauty. Some said primroses could reveal fairy paths on certain nights. Greek myths linked primroses to Priapus, a god of fertility. Romans connected them to their goddess, Venus. Okay, remember Venus. So here's a connection with February and Venus. In some folktales, primrose could ward off evil or bring good luck. Hanging them by your door was thought to invite fairies to protect your home. Don't forget, fairies are demonic entities. These stories show how primroses have captured people's imagination for ages. Their beauty and early blooming made them seem magical to many cultures. In Midsummer Night's Dream, primrose flowers are part of a magical love potion. This shows how they're linked to romance and magic. Okay, so February's flower is primrose and the iris. So understand what's happening here. Magical potion, love potion, Valentine's Day, magic, the iris, right? Lust of the eyes. You see what I'm trying to show you here? In the Disney movie called Strange Magic, the love potion is a powerful dust potion from the world of strange magic, and it can only be made by the sugar plum fairy with her magic and a petal of a primrose flower. Its only antidote is real love, as it is stronger than the potion itself. So even Disney is showing this hidden stuff, okay, which they always do. They're trying to bring our kids into witchcraft and demonic teachings and lessons and belief systems. So this primrose flower is directly linked to February, and the iris is where the lust of the eyes comes in from the love potion that you're given to take part in Valentine's Day. The birthstone is amethyst, which is a purple stone, which symbolizes piety, humility, spiritual wisdom, and sincerity. This is all very demonic. In Catholic tradition, February is the month of the purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So Catholics count February as the month of the purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Why is that? If she's purified in February, then that means in March, the Holy Spirit can come upon her and bring her with child in the month of March, which would bring 9 months later to December 25th. Okay, you see how all these demonic holidays are connected? They are. Make no mistake about it. So, of course, we can't do a Valentine's Day video without diving into Cupid. Okay, so here we're going to check out Cupid, and we're going to make some crazy connections to a bunch of other gods through Cupid, because these are the wicked spirits that are behind these holidays. In classical mythology, Cupid, meaning passionate desire, is the god of desire, erotic love, attraction, and affection. He is often portrayed as the son of the love goddess Venus and the god of war Mars. So we know desire, erotic love, attraction. We understand this as lust, which is one of the 7 deadly sins. And this is the spirit who is behind the spirit of lust, along with his mother, Venus, who is also associated with Aphrodite and some other goddesses, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I found it interesting that Cupid's parents are Venus and Mars. You guys may remember this book from the 90s. You may or may not, but I'm sure you've heard of it. Men are from Mars. Women are from Venus. Pretty interesting that Cupid's parents are claimed to be the father and mother of us all, Mars and Venus. And Cupid is the one who brings everyone together. Okay, this book sold more than 15 million copies. 555. It was the highest ranked work of nonfiction of the 1990s. Okay, take away that one, you have 99, which is 9/11, spending 121 weeks on the bestseller list. 2 times 11 is 22, which is V for Lucifer, who, when we start diving into this, you will see is associated with the planet Venus. He's also known as Amor, which is Latin for love. His Greek counterpart is Eros, which you can see here in Trump's penthouse suite. He has his Apollo painting in a chariot led by Aurora, the Northern Lights, the false Northern Lights. You see the statue of Eros and Psyche, who we'll cover in a little bit. But these are just some of the idols of the false gods that are in Trump's penthouse suite. You can see down here it says classical art dominates here with a bronze of Eros and Psyche, one of the great Greek love stories, and Apollo led by Aurora, the Greek goddess of the dawn, suggesting Trump sees himself the mold of Apollo, Zeus's son, and one of the most powerful of the gods. Okay, this is what the inauguration does. They harness a spirit or inaugurate a spirit into their own spirit so that they may do the will of that entity. Although Eros is generally portrayed as a slender-winged youth in classical art during the Hellenistic period, he was increasingly portrayed as a chubby boy. During this time, his iconography acquired a bow and arrow that represent his source of power. A person or even a deity who is shot by Cupid's arrow is filled with uncontrollable desire. In myths, Cupid is a minor character who serves mostly to set the plot in motion. He is a main character only in the tale of Cupid and Psyche, which we just saw in Trump's as Eros and Psyche. When wounded by his own weapons, he experiences the ordeal of love. Although other extended stories are not told about him, his tradition is rich in poetic themes and visual scenarios such as love conquers all and the retaliatory punishment and torture of Cupid. Okay, so his symbols are a bow and arrow, which is his source of power. Now we're going to connect him to Apollo. Apollo is the god of medicine and healing. They are associated with Apollo, which we'll cover later on, whether through the god himself or medicated through his son, Asclepius, who we'll also cover. Apollo delivered people from epidemics, yet he is also a god who could bring ill health and deadly plague with his arrows. The invention of archery is often accredited to Apollo and his sister Artemis. Apollo is usually described as carrying a silver or golden bow and a quiver of silver or golden arrows. Okay, so Apollo's symbol is the bow and arrow, and it's also a lyre, which is a stringed instrument, which we will get to in a little bit. Now, the last sentence here says, although other extended stories are not told about him, his tradition is rich in poetic themes and visual scenarios such as love conquers all and the retaliatory punishment or torture of Cupid. So what you will see shortly is that Cupid is also portrayed with the gods with fire and torches. But since we're here, I want to cover this because this is where Prometheus enters in and is connected to Cupid, right? Love conquers all. Prometheus's love of the people. inspired him to steal fire from the gods and give it to humanity. Prometheus, which is 140, 77, 711, 911. Prometheus is best known for defying the Olympian gods by taking fire from them and giving it to humanity in the form of technology, knowledge, and more generally, civilization. So here we have the knowledge of good and evil, okay, where the demons enter through our technology and give us the forbidden knowledge of good and evil. In some versions of the myth, he's also credited with the creation of humanity from clay. Okay, this is what Satan does. He poses as God and rebrands the story of creation as his own. Prometheus is known for his intelligence and for being a champion of mankind, and is also generally seen as the author of human arts and sciences. The punishment of Prometheus for stealing fire from Olympus and giving it to humans is subject of both ancient and modern culture. Zeus, king of the Olympian gods, condemned Prometheus to eternal torment for his transgression. Prometheus was bound to a rock, and an eagle, the emblem of Zeus and Rome and America, was sent to eat his liver. In Greece, the liver was thought to be the seat of human emotions. His liver would grow back overnight, only to be eaten again the next day in an ongoing cycle. In the Western classical tradition, Prometheus became a figure who represented human striving, particularly the conquest for scientific knowledge, and the risk of overachieving or unintended consequences. In particular, he was regarded in the Romantic era as embodying the lone genius whose efforts to improve human existence could also result in tragedy. The etymology of Prometheus is debated. The usual view is that it signifies forethought, as that of his brother Epimetheus. Epimetheus denotes afterthought. So between the two of them, you have the beginning and the end. It has also been theorized that it derives from the Proto-Indian European root that also produces the Vedic pramath, to steal. Hence Prometheus, thief, cognate with Prometheus, the thief of fire. Now you will remember that Hermes is the god of thieves. So here's a connection between Prometheus and Hermes, who is connected to Cupid and Eros. Let's continue. The oldest record of Prometheus is in Hesiod, but stories of theft of fire by a trickster figure are widespread around the world. So here, Prometheus is called a trickster figure, a trickster god. Another association with Hermes, who is the trickster god. If we go to the statue of Prometheus, which is in Rockefeller Center, of course, of all places, Prometheus is a 1934 gilded cast bronze sculpture by Paul Manship, located above the lower plaza at Rockefeller Center in Manhattan, New York City. Okay? 1 plus 9 plus 3 plus 4 is 17. Q, the spirit of Antichrist. It was created by the Roman Bronze Works, a subsidiary of the General Bronze Corporation in Corona, Queens. The Roman Bronze Works had long been a subcontractor to Louis Comfort Tiffany's Tiffany Studios, which was then bought out by General Bronze Corporation in 1928. So there's your portal. And look what they created. Under the ownership of General Bronze, the Roman Bronze Works produced some of its finest artworks from various sculptures. The Prometheus is set against the west wall of a sunken plaza. So the plaza is sunken, okay? It's in the pit, and it's set against the west wall, which means that it faces east. Ezekiel 8:16 says, "And he brought me to the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs toward the temple of the Lord and their faces toward the east, and they worshiped the sun toward the east." So here you have the statue of Prometheus, all right, who is the sun god, Apollo, giving fire facing the east. We're going to also see the connections with Tammuz, who this section of Ezekiel 8 is about. As you can see right here, they are worshiping Tammuz. Okay, they have their backs toward God and they face the east, worshiping the sun, Apollo. Okay, this is the symbolism being shown here. This is in front of 30 Rockefeller Plaza and was once the RCA building. RCA. R is 18, A is 1, 19, and 3 is 22. Lucifer's number, the bringer of light. Seeing all this? It is visible from Fifth Avenue. The Prometheus Fountain, with its attendant restaurants, ice skating rink in the winter, has become one of the most visited and photographed places in New York City, and certainly Rockefeller Center's most photographed, especially around Christmas time with the lighting of its Christmas tree, which I'll show you in a minute. The statue is 18 feet, which is 5.5 meters tall, and weighs 8 tons. 18 is 666. 55 is the numerical value for Satan. 8 is the portal, and tons means 2,000 pounds. So 8 tons is 16,000, which is 88. The recumbent figure is in a 60 by 16 foot fountain basin. So the 60 by 16 foot, that's in a pit. Here's the calculator. 60 by X times 16 foot. 960. 96. There's your Artemis and Apollo, or 66 or 99. Can be any of them. Prometheus falls through a ring representing the heavens. So Prometheus falls from heaven, and inscribed with the signs of the zodiac toward the earth, the mountain, and the sea, the pool. The ring, of course, represents CERN, the portal, through which, as Apollo, he will escape from. The inscription, a paraphrase from Aeschylus on the granite wall behind, reads, "Prometheus, teacher in every art, brought the fire that hath proved to mortals a means to mighty ends." Yeah, because when the serpent beguiled Eve and brought mankind into the tree of knowledge, the forbidden knowledge, it proved to mortals a means to a mighty end. Yeah, damnation. This is why Jesus had to come, okay? Because Prometheus brought this fire, the technology. Prometheus is considered the main artwork of Rockefeller Center and is one of the complex's more well-known works. The seasonal Rockefeller Christmas tree is erected above the statue every winter. During the rest, Prometheus serves as the main aesthetic draw in the Lower Plaza's outdoor restaurant. So here you can see that the tree is above Prometheus. Completely demonic symbolism and idolatry. Now let's get back to Cupid. The etymology of Cupid means passionate, desire, to tremble, desire, trembling, quaking, simmer, boil. So this seems like an uncontrollable, very strong lust. Okay, the word desire means a long or hope for, exhibit or feel desire for. Conscious impulse towards something that promises enjoyment or satisfaction and attainment. Okay, this is called the lust of the flesh or the lust of the eyes. craving, a teenager's desire for independence, sexual urge or appetite, something longed or hoped for. You are my heart's desire. Okay, this is lust. That's what Valentine's Day is all about, lust. But lust is a deadly sin which disguises itself as enjoyment. In Latin literature, Cupid is usually treated as the son of Venus without reference to a father. Just see what's being said here. No father. In other words, he's not of God, right? He's of Venus, Lucifer, his father, the devil, shape-shifting as his mother. As I told you, spirits, the wicked spirits, if you've seen my Seven Satans video, come as both male and female. This is why we have Artemis and Apollo. Okay, they are twin spirits, but the same being. This is why Baphomet is both sexes. This is why there's a massive LGBT trans movement taking place, because they're spiritually possessed by these spirits, which are, I guess you would call, non-binary, right? They're in confusion. God created them male and female, but these are created by their father, the devil. Seneca says that Vulcan, as the husband of Venus, is the father of Cupid. Vulcan is the god of fire, you know, like Prometheus. Vulcanalia is an annual festival held on 8/23. Okay, that's 58. The rise of the Antichrist. Caesario, however, says there were 3 Cupids as well as 3 Venuses. The first Cupid was the son of Mercury and Diana, who is Artemis, the second of Mercury and the second Venus, and the third was Mars and the third Venus. This last Cupid was the equivalent of Anteros, counter love, one of the Orodes, the gods who embody the aspect of love. So here is Anteros, is the god of requited love and also the punisher of those who scorn love and the advances of others, and the or the avenger of unrequited love. So here you have Cupid being the cure and the sickness, right? One Cupid fires arrows of love and makes you love sick, the sickness. And this Cupid, Anteros, fires arrows and punishes those who scorn love in the advances of others. This is the cure. Artemis, Apollo, bringer of sickness and the cure. Cupid is most often regarded as the son of Venus and Mars. His symbols are the arrow and the torch. Here is Artemis. Artemis's symbol are bow and arrows and the torch. Okay, the fire. This is how it's all connected. All of these gods are connected because they are one in the same, disguising as other gods, because they all get the worship. It doesn't matter which one of these versions man worships. The one behind it, the one spirit behind it, gets all the praise and all the worship. Cupid carries 2 kinds of arrows or darts, one with a sharp golden point and the other with a blunt tip of lead. A person wounded by the golden arrows filled with uncontrollable desire, but the one struck by the lead feels aversion and desires only to flee. So here is the sickness and the cure. When Apollo taunts Cupid as the lesser archer, Cupid shoots him with the golden arrow, but strikes the object of his desire, the nymph Daphne, with the lead. Trapped by Apollo's unwanted advances, Daphne prays to her father, the river god, Peneus, who turns her into a laurel, the tree sacred to Apollo. It is the first of several unsuccessful or tragic love affairs for Apollo. So here you see a direct connection between Cupid and Apollo, although they will never admit that one is the other. If we scroll down, we can see this one entitled Demon of Fornication. To adapt myths for Christian use, medieval mythographers interpreted them morally. In this view, Cupid is seen as a demon of fornication. Oh, you mean the truth? The innovative Theodulf of Orleans, who wrote during the reign of Charlemagne, reinterpreted Cupid as a seductive but malicious figure who exploits desire to draw people into an allegorical underworld of vice. Oh, you mean the 7 deadly sins? Yeah, that's exactly what Valentine's Day is all about. Drawing you into an underworld of vice. To Theodulf, Cupid's quiver symbolized his depraved mind, his bow, trickery, his arrows, poison, and his torch, burning passion. It was appropriate to portray him naked, not as not to conceal his deception and evil. This conception largely followed his attachments to lust, but would later be diluted as many Christians embraced Cupid as a symbolic representation of love. You see, Christians, be warned. This is what happens when you mix our ways with the ways of the heathen. This is why God speaks directly against it. Take no part with the heathen. What part hath light with darkness? Mix not your ways with their ways. What part have a believer with an infidel? So here we have Eros. This is the counterpart of Cupid. Eros is the Greek god of love and sex. His Roman counterpart is Cupid. In his earliest accounts, he is a primordial god, while in later accounts, he's described as one of the children of Aphrodite and Ares, which is Venus and Mars. Some of his siblings was one of the Erotes, a group of winged love gods, which we just saw. He's usually presented as a handsome young man, though in some appearances he's a juvenile boy full of mischief. Okay? Just like Hermes, the god of mischief. I'm pointing out all these connections because it's important that we understand the spirits that are behind these wicked pagan holidays. Now, they say that Cupid is a cherub. And if we look at Valentine's Day again, you will see these 2 little boy angels. And this is what they call a cherub. This is how a cherub is shown in all kinds of stuff. But this is not the cherub of the Bible. Okay, let's look at what a cherub actually is. Here you have Ezekiel 1, verses 4 to 14. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and brightness was about it. And out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings. And their feet were straight, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot. And they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides. And they 4 had their faces and their wings. And their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went every one straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man, the face of a lion on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. And they went every one straight forward. Whither the Spirit was to go, they went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and the fire went forth lightning. and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. This is what a cherub looks like. These are also the same angels who were before the throne of God. Revelation 4:6-8 says, "And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal in the midst of the throne. And round about the throne were four beasts full of eyes before and behind. The first beast was like a lion, the second beast was like a calf, the third beast had the face of a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. And the four beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within. And they rest not day or night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come." This is the same angel that the Lord put outside of the Garden of Eden. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword which they turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. This is what a cherub is. It's not a little baby, plump and fat boy with angel's wings. That's the Catholic version. But as we know, the Catholics distort the truth and present their lies to the people. So just wanted to make it clear what a cherub is. So the Greek word eros, meaning desire, this is where the word eroticism or erotic comes from eros, from Cupid, erotic desire. Understand, this is lust. This is not a good thing. This is a bad thing. Eros is represented as the son of Aphrodite, who is the goddess of desire, lust, okay, whose mischievous interventions in the affairs of gods and mortals cause bonds to love to form, often illicitly. So here once again we have a reference to mischievous, Hermes. Eros was depicted as a young adult male who embodies sexual power. A cult of Eros existed in pre-classical Greece, but it was much less important than that of Aphrodite. However, in late antiquity, Eros was worshipped by a fertility cult in Thespi. In Athens, he shared a very popular cult with Aphrodite, and the 4th day of every month was sacred to him, also shared by Heracles, Hermes, and Aphrodite. I told you this number 4 is going to reoccur throughout this teaching. Number 4 is IV. Here you can see Hermes, whose number is the number 4. And they are celebrated on the 4th day of every month. Eros is one of the Erotes, along with other figures such as Hemeros and Pothos, who are sometimes considered patrons of homosexual love between males. So here we have these Erotes, which Cupid and Eros are, responsible for homosexual love. Eros is also part of a triad of gods that played roles in homoerotic relationships, along with Heracles and Hermes, who bestowed qualities of beauty and loyalty, strength, eloquence, respectively, onto male lovers. These are the spirits. So love is love. Now you understand why love is love means that LGBTs are welcome in the church. Because in the churches, love is love. And these are the spirits behind this love. Eros, love, was the 4th god to come into existence. Okay, here's the number 4 again. He was the first god to come into existence, coming after Chaos, Gaia, which is Earth, and Tartarus. Now, this is the satanic version of creation. It says first came chaos, then earth, then the deep, the pit. Genesis 1:2 says, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Okay, so here we have Tartarus, darkness, and the earth. The chaos, without form and void, darkness on the earth, Gaia, and the deep, Tartarus. So in this, Homer does not mention Eros. However, Parmenides, one of the pre-Socratic philosophers, makes Eros the first of all gods to come into existence. What you'll notice about these gods, hopefully I've highlighted it, is that they are associated also with Pan, who is said to be the original primordial god as well. So here you have the first god, here you have the fourth god. Of course, all this stuff is made up. That's why there's so many different versions, but the spirits behind these made up narratives are 100% real. At the beginning, there was only chaos, night, dark Erebus, and the deep Tartarus. Okay, there's your creation. There's your Genesis 1-2 right there. Earth, the air, and the heaven had no existence, right? Genesis. God created heaven and the earth was without form and void. Firstly, black-winged night laid the germless egg in a bosom of the infinite deep of Erebus. And from this, after the revolution of long ages, sprang the graceful Eros with his glittering golden wings. Swift as the whirlwinds of the tempest, he mated with the deep Tartarus, with dark chaos, winged like himself, and thus hatched forth our race, which was the first to see the light. I hope you see the demonic twisting of the scriptures they're trying to put in here. In other versions, the Orphic egg, which contains Eros, is created by Kronos, and it's Eros who bore Nyx as his daughter and took her as his consort. Eros was called Protogonos, meaning firstborn, because he was the first of the immortals that could be conceived by man, and was thought as the creator of all beings and the first ruler of the universe. The primordial Eros, also called Phanes, which means the illuminated one, like Lucifer. He was also called Erechpios, which is power, and Metis, which is thought, and Dionysus. So here's your connection to the Olympics. And Dionysus, right? Posing as the Last Supper. You remember that little blue guy they said? That was Dionysus. Zeus was said to have swallowed Phanes, Eros, the illuminated one, and absorbed his power of creation, remade the world anew, such that Zeus was then both creator and ruler of the universe. The Orphics also thought that Dionysus was an incarnation of the primordial Eros, and that Zeus, the modern ruler, passed the scepter of power to Dionysus. Thus, Eros was made the first ruler of the universe, and as Dionysus, he reigned the scepter of power once again. Here's your Antichrist story. Revelation 17. The beast that was and is not, yet shall be again. Here is your Nimrod and Tammuz story. Here is your Osiris and Horus story, being reborn to re-rule again. Eros was depicted as often carrying a lyre or a bow and arrow. The lyre, as I was showing you earlier, is a common attribute of Apollo, and so is the bow and arrows. So these are the connections we need to pay attention to, because these are the things that connect these spirits together. The truth is hidden in plain sight. You just have to search a thing out. In Greek mythology, Psyche was the deification of the human soul. She was portrayed in innocent mosaics as a goddess with butterfly wings, because Psyche was also the ancient Greek word for butterfly. The word psyche literally means soul, spirit, breath, life, or animating force. So Psyche wasn't a god or a deity in the story of Eros and Psyche. She was a human, And Aphrodite was jealous of her because men stopped worshiping Aphrodite and started to seek out Psyche. So Aphrodite approached Eros to take care of this situation and to shoot her with one of his resistant arrows. But he ended up hitting himself, falling in love with Psyche, and then she was deified, yada, yada, yada. But so she was a human who was possessed and deified with a dark spirit, and she was given butterfly wings, like monarch mind programming. The word psyche literally means soul, spirit, breath, life, animating force. Just some things to chew on. In the Gnostic narrative found on the origin of the world, Eros, during the universe's creation, is scattered in all the creatures of chaos, existing between the midpoint of light and darkness, as well as the angels and people. Later, Psyche pours her blood upon him, causing the first rose to sprout up on the earth, followed by every flower and herb. What a demonic distortion. So here we have Venus, the supposed mother of Cupid and Eros. Venus is the Roman goddess whose functions encompass love, beauty, desire, sex, fertility, prosperity, and victory. In Roman mythology, she was the ancestor of the Roman people through her son, Aeneas, who survived the fall of Troy and fled to Italy. Julius Caesar claimed her as his ancestor. Venus was central to many religious festivals and was revered in Roman religion under numerous cult titles. The etymology for Venus and the common nouns Venus: love, charm, desire, attractive, charming, erotic, adore, revere, honor, venerate, worship, favor, permission, to hunt, to strive for, to wish for, to desire, to love. So we're going to get into this stuff, but just remember veneration and worship, and keep an eye on charm. Okay, because remember we talked about love potion. Well, we're going to be getting into all this stuff. Venus has been described as perhaps the most original creation of the Roman pantheon, and an ill-defined and assimilative native goddess combined with a strange and exotic Aphrodite. Her cults may represent the religiously legitimate charm and seduction of the divine by mortals, in contrast to the formal contextual relations between most members of Rome's official pantheon and state. The unofficial illicit manipulation of divine forces through magic. The ambivalence of her persuasive functions has been perceived in the relationship of root venos with its Latin derivative venenum, poison, from venos, no, love, drink, or addicting, in the sense of a charm or a magic. Philtre, which is a potion, love potion. Okay, this is the goddess of the love potion. Don't think this stuff isn't real, because it is. It's called witchcraft. If witchcraft wasn't real, the Bible wouldn't warn us against it and tell us, suffer not a witch to live. It's very real. The spells and the potions these people whip up are used by spiritual darkness to open up portals in people, okay, to manipulate their thoughts into doing what is against their will. Otherwise, they wouldn't need a potion. They would just do it. This is about seducing humanity into interacting with spirits. No different from when the angels were sleeping with the women, just different. Nothing new under the sun. Humans and spiritual entities having relationships in a different form and function. Venus seems to have had no origin myth until her association with Greek Aphrodite. Venus Aphrodite emerged already in adult form from the sea foam. Very interesting, right? She just appeared from the sea foam. If we go to Jude, We can start at verse 12. These are spots in your feast of charity when they feast with you, feeding themselves without fear. Clouds they are without water, carried about of winds, trees whose fruit withers, without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots, waging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame. Wandering stars to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Look, sea foam, Jude, raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame. Sea foam, wandering stars to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. Venus Acidalia. He connects it to the Greek word for dart, needle, arrow, whence love's arrows, love's bitter cares and pangs. So here you have Venus and Mars with Cupid, once again associated with darts, needles, arrows. Okay, they want to stick you, they want to jab you, right? They can make you lovesick or sick so they can give you the cure. Now, the thing about Venus is, by the way, Venus is 81, which is 18666, that it's Lucifer. The most common meaning for Lucifer in English is as the name for the devil in Christian theology. He appeared in the King James Version of the Bible in Isaiah, and before that in the Vulgate in the late 4th century Latin translation of the Bible. Not as the name of the devil, but as the Latin word Lucifer, uncapitalized, meaning morning star, the planet Venus, or as an adjective, light bringing. It is a translation of the Hebrew word Hallel, meaning shining one. As the Latin name for the morning appearances of the planet Venus, it corresponds to the Greek name Phosphorus, Lightbringer, and Eosphorus, Dawnbringer. Okay, so here we have Lucifer, directly associated with the planet Venus, who is directly associated with Cupid and Eros. As a name for the planet in the morning aspect, Lucifer, Lightbringer, is a proper noun and is capitalized in English. In Roman Greco civilization, he was often personified and considered a god, and in some versions considered the son of Aurora, the dawn. A similar name used by the Roman poet Catullus for the planet in its evening aspect is Noctifer, Nightbringer. So here you have the darkness and the light, right? The Bible says, if the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? This is the false light of Lucifer, the knowledge of good and evil. In Roman folklore, Lucifer, Lightbringer in Latin, was the name of the planet Venus, though he was often personified as a male figure bearing a torch, just like Eros, just like Prometheus. No different. The 2nd century Roman mythographer Pseudo-Hyginus said of the planet, the fourth star. Okay, here's the fourth again. This is a reoccurring theme. Understand that 4 is the Roman numeral IV, and that should give you chills. The fourth star is that of Venus Luciferus by name. Some say it is Juno's. In many tales it is recorded that it is Hesperus too. It is visible both at dawn and sunset, so properly has been called both Luciferus and Hesperus. So the light and the darkness. In the classical Roman period, Lucifer was not typically regarded as a deity and had few, if any, myths, though the planet was associated with various deities and often poetically personified. Cicero stated, "You say that Sol and Luna are deities, and the Greeks identify the former with Apollo and the later with Diana. But if Luna is a goddess, then Lucifer, the morning star, also, and the rest of the wandering stars will have to be counted gods, and if so, then the fixed stars as well. Very interesting that this is brought up, because under Venus, we saw that she comes from sea foam. And in Jude, we read that raging waves of the sea foam out their shame. So she's the shame of these wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. And now here in the description of Lucifer, this person is saying, if Apollo and Diana are gods, then Lucifer and the rest of the wandering stars will have to be counted as gods. So let me show you who the wandering stars are. This is Enoch, chapter 18. And I saw, starting at verse 9, it says, "And I saw a flaming fire, and beyond these mountains is a region, the end of the great earth. There the heavens were completed." So this is outside of the firmament, at the end of earth, and at the end of the first heaven, the firmament. This is where what people refer to as space begins. "And I saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measure alike towards the height and towards the depth. And beyond that abyss I saw a place that had no firmament of heaven above it, and no firmly founded earth beneath it, and there was no water upon it, and no birds, but it was a waste and a horrible place. I saw there 7 stars like 7 great burning mountains. Here are your planets, the wandering stars, as referred to not only in Jude, the wandering stars, but also in this description of Lucifer right here. The rest of the wandering stars will have to be counted as gods. So let's continue. "I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains, and when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, 'This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars in the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times, and he was wroth with them, and bound them, till a time when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years. And Uriel said to me, 'Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand till the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged until they are made an end of.'" So here we can see these shining stars, right? Wandering stars, to who is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Wandering stars, okay, the prison for the stars, leading mankind astray into sacrificing to demons as gods, just like was said here. Then Lucifer, the morning star, and the rest of the wandering stars will have to be counted as gods, just like it says. So now we're going to make another connection to Venus. We're going to connect her to Inanna, who is the goddess of love, war, and fertility, who's also associated with sensuality, procreation, divine law, and political power. Okay, Venus's attributes, whose functions encompass love, beauty, desire, sex, fertility, prosperity, and victory. Same associations that we have with Inanna: love, war, fertility. Venus, love, war, fertility. Her primary title is the Queen of Heaven. In archaic Uruk, she was worshipped in 3 forms: morning, evening, and princely Inanna, the former 2 reflecting the phases of her associated planet Venus, who is Lucifer. Her most prominent symbols include the lion and the 8-pointed star. Her husband is the god Demuzid, later known as Tammuz. Here we have a direct connection of Prometheus facing the east. They're worshiping their god Tammuz, Venus associated with Inanna, associated with Lucifer, associated with Cupid, associated with Eros, associated with Hermes, and Apollo and Artemis. I hope you're seeing what I'm building here for you. This holiday is nothing like people think. Now, her primary title is the Queen of Heaven. Well, here we have the Queen of Heaven. Queen of Heaven is a title given by the Catholic Church and Eastern Orthodoxy to Mary, mother of Jesus, and to a lesser extent in Anglicanism and Lutheranism. So the Queen of Heaven is Mary. This is why I say that when people venerate Mary and worship Mary in the Catholic churches, they are worshiping their god, Lucifer, because Lucifer is the Catholic god. Okay, this is why Jesus is pushed to the side and Mary is lifted up. The Catholic teaching on this subject is expressed in papal encyclical Ad Caeli Reginam, issued by Pope Pius XII in 1954. Therein the Pope states that Mary is called Queen of Heaven because her son Jesus Christ was charged as being King of Israel and the heavenly King of the universe. This would render the mother of the king as Queen Mother of Israel. You see how the Catholics don't care what the Bible actually says? They see scenarios and then they put their own twist on it and they associate things which are not there. Queen of Heaven is one of the many titles used for Mary, Mother of Jesus. The title derived in part the ancient Catholic teaching that Mary, at the end of her earthly life, was bodily and spiritually assumed into heaven, and that she is there honored as queen. This is demonic. If Mary herself could come down here, she would be up in arms against what the Catholics do. Here you can see that Jesus and Father God are crowning Mary. Pope Pius XII says that he is the Son of God. He, the Son of God, reflects on his heavenly mother, the glory, the majesty and dominion of his kingship for having been associated to the King of Martyrs in the work of human redemption as mother and cooperator. She remains forever associated with him, with a particularly unlimited power in the distribution of the graces which flow from redemption. Jesus is king throughout all eternity by nature and by right of conquest. Through him, with him, and subordinate to him, Mary is queen by grace, by divine relationship, by right of conquest, and by singular choice of the Father. I'm sorry, did Father God send Mary to open the doorway to the Father, or Jesus? Where in the Bible does it say that Mary has power, has unlimited power? I'm sorry, practically unlimited power. Where does it say that in scriptures? I'll tell you where. Nowhere. But what it does say is very clear. In Matthew 12, 46 to 50 says, while he yet talked with the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother, and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother, my sister, and mother. So Jesus very clearly says, who is my mother? Okay, that takes away all power because Jesus is to be worshipped, not his mother. And he takes it a step further and says that whosoever shall do the will of the Father which is in heaven, that person is his brother, sister, and mother, which means that he's associating his mother with every other mother on earth. Okay? Not exalting her, but associating with her with all mothers who will serve the Father which is in heaven. If you are Catholic or in a Catholic church, run for your life. In 1954, encyclical Ad Cale Reginam to the Queen of Heaven, Pius XII asserts that Mary deserves the title because she is the Theotokos, Mother of God, because she is closely associated as the new Eve with Jesus' redemptive work because of her preeminent perfection and because of her intercessory power. Show me where in the Bible it says that Mary is the new Eve. Show me where in the Bible it says that she was preeminent in perfection. Okay, there is none good, no, not one. Everyone has fallen short of the glory of God. And show me where in the Bible it says that she has intercessory power. You will never find it because it's not in there. These are man-made teachings, doctrines of devils. Ad Cali Reginam states that the main principle on which the royal dignity of Mary rests is her divine motherhood. You won't find that in the Bible. And thus, John of Damascus wrote, when she became mother of the Creator, she truly became queen of every creature. You won't find a queen anywhere in the kingdom of heaven. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. All the angels are men. All of them. Okay, there's no female angels. There's no queens. This is satanic. And here is how they try to glorify her in a biblical sense and make excuses for why they can venerate her and exalt her to this queenship. In the Hebrew Bible, some Davidic kings had in their court a Gibberah, a great lady, who was often their mother, and she held great power as his advisor and an advocate to him. In 1 Kings 2:20, Solomon says to his mother, Bathsheba, seated on a throne at his right, make your request, mother, for I will not refuse you. William G. sees here a sort of type of Mary. So because Solomon allowed his mom to sit at a throne on his right, and that makes Mary Queen of Heaven? In the New Testament, the title has several biblical sources. At the Annunciation, the Archangel Gabriel announces that Jesus will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. He will rule over the house of Jacob forever, and his reign will be without end. Luke 1:32. The biblical precedent in ancient Israel is that the mother of the king becomes the queen mother. Mary's queenship is a share in Jesus's kingship. Jesus does not share his throne. God is the one God, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. He does not share his godhood. He is God alone, he says. Okay? The Bible teaches us that God is God alone. There is none other, which means this is malarkey. Catholic demonicism. So understand, if you are Catholic, your God is Lucifer, whether you can see it or not. You pray to Mary, you're praying to Satan. Whether you understand it or not is irrelevant. That is who is getting your glory. That is who is getting your praise. That is who is hearing your prayers, which is why they go unanswered. If you do not come out of this darkness, you will find yourself in the pit. From the earliest ages of the Catholic Church, a Christian people, you see how they mix it now? They want to say that Catholics are Christians. No, they're not. Christians follow Christ. Catholics follow Mary. You know, Lucifer. She gets all the praise in the Catholic Church. Jesus is either a baby in the arms of Mary or dead on a cross, not risen. Okay? That's what Jesus is in the Catholic Church. Either a helpless baby or a dead fleshly man on a cross who has not risen. That's why he's still on the Catholic cross. This is a highly satanic religion. So let's continue reading. From the earliest ages of the Catholic Church, a Christian people, whether in time of triumph or more especially in time of crisis, has addressed prayers, petitions, and hymns of praise and veneration to the Queen of Heaven, and never has that hope wavered which they place in the mother of the divine King Jesus Christ, nor has that faith ever failed by which we are taught that Mary, the Virgin Mother of God, reigns with a mother's solicitude over the entire world, just as she is crowned in heavenly blessedness with the glory of a queen. Notice the only mention of Jesus is when they're talking about how much they worship Mary, who, by the way, is the mother of Jesus, and their faith in Mary has never failed. She rules over the entire world. Yeah, who's the god of this world? That's right, Satan. Satan is the god of this world. And for your naysayers or you ill-informed, here is where it tells you who the god of this world is in the Bible. 2 Corinthians verse 4, 3 and 4 says, "But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God, little g, of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them." So the god of this world has blinded the mind of the unbelievers. That's Satan, or the Catholic Mary, Queen of Heaven. So let's talk about Mars, the father of Cupid. He is the god of war. Understand that right now we have a person in high governmental power called Elon Musk, who wears shirts, and his mantra is Occupy Mars. Mars is the god of war. The spiritual implication of Elon's shirt is immense. Understand, there is no such thing as the planet Mars. As I showed you in Enoch and in other places, that these stars are entities, fallen angels. Mars is a fallen angel, the god of war. Okay, so when Elon is trying to get people to worship going to Mars, to exalt occupying Mars, they're looking to occupy war, to come and live inside of war. If we scroll down a bit, we can see that the Latin adjectives for the name Mars are Martius and Martialis, meaning martial, as in martial arts or martial law. So all these people who are like, occupy Mars, that means they want to live inside of martial law, inside of war. This is what they're supporting without even knowing it. And it's coming in the disguise of love and war, right? Venus and Mars. Here is Elon in his token Occupy Mars shirt. Understand, this has nothing to do with escaping the Earth and going to live on some other planet that doesn't exist. This is all about ushering in Mars, the god of war, bringing this to this nation, which is exactly what's going to happen. If you can't see it manifesting already since Trump's taken over, then you just are not paying attention. This martial law will be coming soon. War is coming soon. I just saw today how Russia is backing Gaza. America's backing Israel. Russia's backing Gaza. How do you think this is going to turn out? Just like I've shown you in past videos and understandings, Russia and America will be going to war. And putting all this spiritual power into occupying Mars, this is how these things happen. When they built the Tower of Babel, God said they've all put their minds together, and this they've decided to do. Now, nothing that they put their minds toward will be impossible for them. You know why? Because faith is power. We are spiritual beings living in a fleshly carcass. Our faith and what we believe in has power. Faith is spiritual currency. And when you combine these things, especially in the darkness, and a bunch of people join in the darkness and take faith and put their faith in stuff like going to Mars, understand that the enemy can use that spiritual power to manifest the things on earth which they're actually talking about, which you have no idea about unless you are discerning the world spiritually through the Holy Spirit. If you don't have the Holy Spirit, then you don't have a clue what's going on, period, the end. Now, Mars is the father of Romulus and Remus, who we will come to a little bit later, because America is Rome 2.0. And the things that happen in Rome are taking place here in America. America is being systematically dismantled. The middle class is going to be done away with. People can't see this coming, but this is exactly what's going to happen. The divide between the rich and the poor is going to become great, and the elimination of the middle class is going to take place. Once there's only the rich and the poor, it will be just like Rome, resurrected Rome. And we'll get to this stuff, but I'm on this right now. These sacred animals, the ones most sacred to Mars, are the woodpecker and the wolf. Well, let's go have a look at Apollo. Well, what do you know? His animal is the wolf, and he's also Mercury, which we saw associated with Hermes. See how they're all connected, and it's not a good thing. So the wolf is connected to Mars. Mars is the father of Romulus and Remus, who created Rome. Apollo is going to come back, and the world will once again be under a one world controller. Now, to break this up a little bit so people don't get bored, not that this information could ever be considered boring, because I'm making some serious connections here. But just like earlier, we were talking about the soup deaths, which are on Valentine's Day, so does the other kind of death take place, murders. And if you type in murders on Valentine's Day, you will see that there is an abundance of murders on the day of love. Just all you gotta do is type in and scroll. Missionary convicted of killing his wife. 10 Valentine's Days that led to murder. St. Valentine's Day massacre. Love kills Valentine's Day murders. Okay, I pulled up a few articles. Let's just have a look. Love kills Valentine's Day murders. Lloyd Tennyson said it was better to have loved and lost than never have loved at all, but he probably wasn't referring to these horrific Valentine's Day murders. Some of these crimes remain unsolved, and others have been closed by authorities. All are a grim reminder that not everyone is buying chocolates for loved ones on Valentine's Day. These high school sweethearts were gunned down on Valentine's Day in Colorado. This couple later was found strangled. Valentine's Day. Woman leaves partner on Valentine's Day, but not for long. 34 facts about Valentine's Day murders. Here's probably the most infamous one that took place. It's called the Valentine's Day Massacre. I know you guys have heard of that. Right here it is. St. Valentine's Day Massacre was the murder of 7 members associated with the Chicago's North Side Gang on St. Valentine's Day, 1929. The men were gathered at a Lincoln Park, Chicago garage on the morning of February 14th, 1929. They were lined up against the wall and shot by 4 unknown assailants, 2 of whom were disguised as police officers. So here's our number 4 again, associated with a Valentine's Day massacre. Here's one talking about the 15 most brutal Valentine's Day murders. Elderly couple ends everything on Valentine's. Oscar Pistorius terminates his girlfriend. Man takes out a wife in a family home. Missionary takes out his wife. This guy gets life in prison. Judge's daughter slays her husband. Screams caught on surveillance. Moving day goes wrong. Blah, blah, blah. Look at it. There is no end to this stuff. If this is such a great holiday all about love, why are so many people being souped and murdered, right? What is going on here? It's because this is a deadly sin. This lust, it's deadly. It creates jealousy. It creates torment. It creates depression, all kinds of stuff. And this is why they push it on you, okay? Because they want to bring you under spiritual possession so that you'll be controlled by your flesh, by your emotions, by Satan. Now, I looked into the heart and I was trying to find out where it came from, but there are so many sources that say a million different things. Okay, I've heard everything from the heart shape was used in the world to represent seeds of the plant Syphilium, to it represented parts of the female body. There's no end to the speculation on where this symbol came from. All I can tell you is what it's used as today, and that is a symbol for love. But this is anything but. This is a demonic symbol. I don't care where it came from. I know what it stands for, and I know the power that it has and what it does. The wounded heart symbol, depicted as a symbol pierced with an arrow, indicating love sickness. This is Apollo, or his alter ego, Cupid, shooting you with his arrow. The sickness and the cure is to fulfill your lust, right? He hits you with the arrow, making you lovesick, and the only way out of it is to fulfill the lust and sin, the sickness and the cure. This is why we have hearts with arrows going through them. This is Apollo symbolism. This symbol here, this sacred heart, this is completely demonic. I've actually pulled something up so we can look at this, the Sacred Heart. The most Sacred Heart of Jesus is one of the most widely practiced and well-known Catholic devotions. Okay, that means that you should stay away from it. The popularization of this devotion in its modern form is derived from a Roman Catholic nun from France who said she learned the devotion from Jesus during a series of apparitions to her between 1673 and 1675, and later in the 19th century from the mystical revelations of another Catholic nun in Portugal, Mary of the Divine Heart, a religious sister of the Congregation of the Good Shepherd, who requested in the name of Christ that Pope Leo XIII consecrate the entire world to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. These Catholics and their idols, there is no end to it. The Sacred Heart is often depicted in Christian art as a flaming heart, shining with divine light, pierced by a lance wound, encircled by thorns, surmounted by a cross, and bleeding. So here you have a pierced heart with fire, which is burning a cross, surrounded by crown of thorns. This is demonic. I mean, any fifth grader could look at this and say, wow, that looks demonic. Yet Catholics will say, oh, that is so holy, so holy. The flames don't represent the pit of hell. Okay, this is where the heart will get you. It will burn your faith in Christ. They'll pierce your heart through with arrows and burn your faith in Christ with the flames of hell. That's what I see. But no. The flames represent the furnace of ardent love. Oh, in that case, I guess it is good. It's just a furnace of love, not the pits of hell. Devotion to the Sacred Heart developed out of the devotion to holy wounds, in particular the sacred wound in the side of Jesus. Yeah, well, that was in his side, not in his heart. The first indications of devotion to the Sacred Heart are found in the 11th and 12th centuries. Well, 11 and 12 is 23. So think of that as you will. So what is the heart really here for? What's really taking place here? What's going on? Well, I'm going to take you into a game because in games like Kid Icarus and many other games, when you kill somebody, you get a heart. So this is an old Nintendo game called Kid Icarus, who just happens to be someone with a bow and arrow and wings. The plot of Kid Icarus revolves around protagonist Pit. Oh, so you mean the king of the bottomless pit, whose weapon is a bow? The angel of the bottomless pit? His name is Pit? Okay, this is Apollo. Make no mistake. Now, I'm not going to read you about this game. You're more than welcome to do that on your own time. I'm just going to come down here and cover a few things here with you. Kid Icarus is a side-scrolling platformer with role-playing elements. The player controls the protagonist Pit through two-dimensional levels which contain monsters, obstacles, and items. Pit's primary weapon is a bow with an unlimited supply of arrows that can be upgraded with 3 collectible power items. The guard crystal shields Pit from enemies. The flaming arrows hit multiple targets, and the holly bow increases the range of the arrows. What kind of wood are wands made out of? Oh, that's right, holly wood. So here you have a holly wood bow being used by the Pit to take out his enemies. These upgrades only work if Pit's health is high enough. The game keeps track of the player's score and increases Pit's health bar at the end of the level if enough points were collected. Throughout the stages, the player may enter doors to access 7 different types of chambers. Oh, very interesting. Stores and black markets offer items in exchange for hearts, which are left behind by defeated monsters. Well, understand that to the enemy, we Christians are the monsters. God is the evil one, and we who serve him are the monsters. Okay, they call evil good and good evil. The game is divided into 3 stages: the underworld, the overworld, which is earth, and the sky world, heaven. So you got to come up out of hell, Apollo being released out of the pit, coming on the earth, trying to enter into heaven. You see what's happening here? All right. And how do you do that? How do you make your progress through this game? Well, you kill people. You kill everything you see. You shoot with arrows so that you can take their hearts. Huh. This sounds familiar. The Purple Heart is a United States military decoration awarded in the name of the president to those wounded or killed while serving. So, the Purple Heart, PH, which, for the record, is 24, which is 888. PH is 24, not Purple Heart. It's awarded in the name of the president to those wounded or killed while serving. So when there is blood spilled or sacrifices made, there's hearts given out, just like in the game. And who gets the hearts? They are given in the name of the president. So I hope you can see what I'm showing you. So look at it this way. The president is playing Kid Icarus. He is controlling the pit. He is killing and spilling blood and is rewarded hearts for each person wounded or killed while serving, because the awards are given in the name of the president. I hope you see what I'm trying to show you, because this is disturbing on levels that I can't even begin to imagine. The original Purple Heart, designed as the badge of military merit, was established by George Washington. Check this out. Military merit. Badge of military merit. BMM. Guess what that is? 28. Okay? So here you have 88 for BMM and 888 for Purple Heart. You think that's a coincidence? Because it's not. And guess who it was started by? George Washington. Well, here in America, We put last name first and first name last, right? And if you just take his initials, George Washington is WG, which is what? 237. The cage of the beast. Understand, this country is not what you think it is. It's not a Christian nation at all. This is the serpent's nation. He has taken it over. And George Washington is Horus. That's who George Washington is. Horus, the so-called reincarnation of Osiris, also known as Tammuz. Horus, not Osiris. Demuzid. Anyways, here is a portal to the satanic belief system, who gives you hearts for shedding blood. Come on now. This is disturbing. I hope you guys are just as disturbed as I am, because this makes me sick. It was first awarded February 1923. Remember all those 8s? Well, here you have the 22nd of February 1932. So you have 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8. Here's your portal. Here's 19, which is your Metonic cycle, and 32, which is 23. Ye are of your father, the devil. First awarded. Okay, notice they say approximately blah, 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 as of the 5th of June, 2010. Well, it's 2025. Why did they give you this number with this date of 2010? Was that when they stopped keeping track? Well, you're going to see something, and then we'll cover something else. Here you have 9/11, Apollo. Here you have 3/6, 666, 9/11. Now, just to show you that they put this number here on purpose, just look, this is as of June 5th, 2010. Well, let's scroll down here a little bit. Oh, look, Afghanistan war. Here's some more. Look, Purple Heart. Oop. Look, Purple Heart's given. Afghan war, 12,534 as of November of 2018. The Iraq war, 35,000 something else more as of 2018. Here's 76 more as of May 2020. 2 more in 2018. Yet the date they give you is approximately this many as of June 5th. Why did they do that? So they could use this number. Okay, because they're trying to send you a message. They're showing you that this is wickedness. Absolute wickedness. So if what I've just shown you about the heart doesn't convince you that this is a demonic symbolism and that the heart shouldn't be thought of as the world wants us to think of it, let me just show you this scripture. Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Okay, your heart deceives you. It lies to you. It tricks you. It's desperately wicked because it wants to serve the flesh. No one can know it. Only God knows the hearts. I, the Lord, search the heart. You can't search your own heart because it's going to lie to you. Okay, it's deceitful above all things. That's why it says, who can know it? No one but God. Okay, if you convince yourself that you understand your heart and you know your heart, well, then you're being deceived. You're a fool because your heart is deceitful and it's deceiving you. Okay, it's desperately wicked. It wants what it wants. It lusts after things. So the symbol of the heart is wicked. It is not good. It does not mean love. It is desperately wicked. Well, this wouldn't be a Valentine's Day video unless I associated it with the February celebration of Lupercalia. Lupercalia, also known as Lupercal, was a pastoral festival of ancient Rome, observed annually on February 15th to purify the city, promoting health and fertility. Remember, I've already showed you the goddesses of health and fertility. Okay, and that I showed you in the month of February was to purify and to purge. Now it says also that it is to promote health. I'm telling you guys, we're watching the rebirth of Rome. Trump's whole purpose is to rebuild Rome. It's going to be different, but it's going to be the same. This celebration, which is a Roman celebration, which we're going to get into, promotes health. Like this. What is Make America Healthy Again? What to know about Trump and RFK Jr.'s wide-ranging platform. Now, I don't care what these people think. I'm just going to tell you what I think. I just wanted to use their headline so you can see that MAHA is a thing. Make America Healthy Again. Well, let's do this. MAHA, MAHA. 13, 14, 15 plus 8 is 23. Ye are of your father, the devil. 23 and me. If you haven't watched my 23 video, the number 23, you need to go watch it. Because you're going to need to understand exactly how desperately wicked this number is. RFK Jr., that's 63. 3 sixes. Trump is 88. Portal, 666, 23. Need I say more? Promoting health. Demonic. The name Lupercalia was believed in antiquity to evince some connection with the ancient Greek festival of Arcadian Lycaea, a wolf festival. Remember who the wolves are. A wolf festival, ancient Greek, Latin lupus, and the worship of Lycan, Pan. Eros is associated with Pan. Cupid was associated with Pan. Here we have the wolf being associated with Pan, which is Apollo. Okay, there's no end to these connections. Assumed to be the Greek equivalent of Faunus, as instituted by Evander Justin, describes the cult image of the Lycian god, whom the Greeks call Pan and the Romans Lupercus, as nude, save for the goatskin girdle. The statue stood in Lupercal, the cave where the tradition held that Romulus and Remus were suckled by the she-wolf Lupa. The cave lay at the foot of Palatine Hill, on which Romulus was thought to have founded Rome. The name of the festival most likely derives from lupus, wolf, though both the etymology and its significance are obscure. The wolf appellation may have to do with the fact that an animal predator plays a key role in male rites of passage. So these twins, who were suckled by the wolf, started Rome. Well, Romulus did. Romulus and Remus are twin brothers, whose story tells of an event that led to the founding of the city of Rome and the Roman kingdom by Romulus, following his fratricide of Remus. That means he killed his brother. The image of the she-wolf suckling the twins in their infancy has been a symbol of the city of Rome and the ancient Romans since at least the 3rd century BC. So, twins growing up and one killing the other. So this twin spirit now resides in one, and he starts Rome. In some sources, Sylvia conceived them when the god Mars visited her in a sacred grove dedicated to him. So here we have the god Mars and the rise of Rome by its king, Romulus. So here we have Mars directly associated with the foundation of Rome through the twins. Gemini is the symbol represented by the twins, Romulus and Remus. Geminis, the twin spirits rolled up into one. The Babylonian astronomy, the stars Pollux and Castor were known as the Great Twins. Their name were Lugaliri and Meslamatae, meaning the mighty king and the one who has arisen from the underworld. Also could be referencing Zeus and Hades. As above, so below. The great twins, the mighty king, the one who is arisen from the underworld. You know, the one who Donald Trump inaugurated. Here we see that Gemini is from May 21st to June 21st. Well, Here's Donald Trump, and his birthday is June 14th, which falls directly in here. Trump is a Gemini. He is of the twin spirit. He is rebuilding Rome with Mars. Are you seeing what I'm showing you? I hope so. Now, seeing them as a possible threat to his rule, King Amulius ordered them to be killed, and they were abandoned on the bank of the river Tiber to die. They were saved by the god Tiberius, father of the river, and survived with the care of the others at the site of future Rome. In the best-known episode, the twins were suckled by a she-wolf in a cave known as Lupercal. Eventually, they were adopted by Faustulus, a shepherd. Now, if you go to look up this Faustulus, you're going to get all kinds of garbage. But I'm no fool. I'm reading this with spiritual eyes. I'm not paying attention to what they're trying to show me. Here is Faust, which many of you may know this story. This is where the term a Faustian bargain comes from, selling your soul to the devil. Faust, the erudite Faust, is highly successful yet dissatisfied with his life, which leads him to make a deal with the devil at a crossroads, exchanging his soul for unlimited knowledge and worldly pleasures. Faustian imply sacrificing spiritual values for power, knowledge, and material gain. The Faust of the early books, as well as the ballad drama movies and puppet plays which grew out of them, is irrevocably damned because he prefers human knowledge over divine knowledge. He laid the holy scriptures behind the door and underneath the bench, refused to be called a doctor of theology, but preferred to be styled doctor of medicine. You know, like Apollo. Here is the Hippocratic Oath, which we're not going to get into. I've covered that before. If you want me to dig into that, watch my video. Apollo is coming. Just ask your doctor. That's what it's called. So the Hippocratic Oath, this is the oath your doctor swears. I swear by Apollo, the physician, and Asclepius. Okay, Asclepius is Apollo's son. This is where the caduceus symbol comes from. And Hygeia, which is where we get the word hygiene. And Panacea, which is a universal medicine, also coming at a doctor near you, called Mr. Na, the M to the R and A. And all gods and goddesses as my witness that according to my ability and judgment, I will keep this oath and this contract. Okay, so this is what doctors do. They swear to Apollo. And so this guy refused to be called a doctor of theology, putting his scriptures on the floor behind the door so that he could swear allegiance to Apollo. He sold his soul to the devil. Faust is unsatisfied with his life as a scholar and becomes depressed. After an attempt to take his own life, he calls on the devil for further knowledge and magic powers with which to indulge all the pleasures and knowledge of the world. In response, the devil's representative, Mephistopheles, appears. He makes a bargain with Faust. Mephistopheles will serve Faust with his magic powers for a set number of years, but at the end of the term, the devil will claim Faust's soul, and Faust will be internally enslaved. Then it talks about how he was not enslaved and that he was, redeemed. But then it says, however, in the early versions of the tale, Faust is irreparably corrupted and believes his sins cannot be forgiven. When the term ends, the devil carries him off to hell. Okay, the older versions are always more accurate than the newer versions, just like in the NIV. You can trust the King James, you can't trust the NIV. You can trust the old dictionaries, you cannot trust the new ones. Okay, because everything changes and waters everything down. It's all about corrupting the spirit. The tale of Faust bears many similarities to the Theophilus legend recorded in the 13th century writer Gaudier de Coinces, Les Miracles de la Sainte Vierge. Here, a saintly figure makes a bargain with the keeper of an infernal world, but is rescued from paying his debt to society through the mercy of a blessed virgin. Oh, this must be the Catholic take on it, right? Of course, the Blessed Virgin comes along and solves all his problems. A depiction of the scene in which he subordinates himself to the devil appears on the north tympanum of the Cathedral de Notre Dame de Paris. Oh, so the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, which is a wicked, disgustingly satanic building. Of course, this would be a retake, right? So, this is Faust. Sold his soul to the devil, but did not want to pay the toll. You see that the twins who were raised by the wolf were adopted by Faust, a shepherd, a false shepherd, like Hermes, the false shepherd. Faust sold his soul to the devil. Now, when Remus and Romulus were trying to decide where to build Rome, they decided that they could not resolve the dispute, so they agreed to seek the gods' approval through a contest of augury. And this is observing the behavior of birds to receive omens. Remus saw 6 auspicious birds, but Romulus saw 12 and claimed to have won divine approval. Okay? 12. 6 and 6, Remus 6. 6, 6, 6. You see? They disputed the result. Remus insulted Romulus. New City was killed either by Romulus or one of his supporters. Romulus then went on to found the city Rome, its institutions, government, military, religious traditions. He reigned for many years as its first king. So understand what's being said here. These twins were adopted by Faust. He sold his soul to the devil. One of the twins sacrificed the other to make Rome. The numerical value for Romulus is 119. 911. Apollo. The same spirit that the twin spirit single-headed Donald Trump inaugurated on January 20th to build the new Rome at the side of Mars. I hope you guys are seeing what I'm showing you, because this is just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Well, you guys, that's what I got for you today in this video. I hope that you picked up everything I put down. I know there was a lot of information, and I know that there was a lot of connections being made, but I hope you were able to see all the wicked spirits attached to this one holiday and how they are manifesting themselves in what is happening right now in our current world in these United States. I hope I put it forth in a way that was easily understandable so that those connections could be made. Because in my head, creating this video painted a picture that I will never be able to unsee, full of wickedness, sacrifice, all to rebuild this demonic kingdom of Rome. And that is exactly what is taking place. So thank you for watching to the end, which you obviously did. If you're hearing this portion of the video, I appreciate you taking the time to listen and to watch. And I hope you share it with anybody who you think could benefit from hearing it. Remember, as Christians, we are to take no part in any of the world's holidays. They are all tied together. They are all demonic to the core. Every single one of them. Okay? The Lord has set aside 7 holy feasts, and those we honor. But we don't honor any of the world's days, because Satan is the god of this world, and the holidays are to celebrate him. So use spiritual wisdom as you walk through this world. Keep your eye on the Lord. Read your Bibles, pray, and understand that we are not to have part of this world or anything in it. Love not the world, the Bible says, or the things that are in it. Take care, and God bless.